Warning, this episode may not be suitable for listeners who don't believe in magic, or more specifically, the kind of magic we create when we begin to truly align. In this episode of Sound of Breaking Glass, I'm joined by Jane Marle, founder of House of Jiriki. Jane is a modern-day healer who works with Reiki, sound, tarot, and crystal balls as her tools of transformation. After experiencing a deep burnout trying to force her way into the fashion world, Jane reconnected with something different: flow, ease, and deep listening. Now she helps others rediscover their own inner roadmap beyond the noise, the masks, and the expectations. So if you've been feeling the pull to slow down, listen in, and to reconnect with the deeper guidance that's always been there, this one's for you. Oh, hello, Jane. So lovely to have you on the call today. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I'm so excited and I can't wait to start.
Me too. And we should mention that you're actually an experienced podcaster yourself. You've had your podcast for a little while. And actually, I really love the way that we met because I think probably a year ago when I first joined one of your therapy sessions, completely unsuspecting what this was going to turn into. And over the year, I got to know you. And I always say that whenever I have guests on the show, the one thing that I care about is energy. And we're going to talk about energy a lot today. But that's definitely how this connection was made. But perhaps you can tell us how you ended up working with healing, with energy, your business, House of Jiriki. How did that start and what does it actually mean?
Yeah, of course. Hi everyone. So I'm Jane and yeah, healing is definitely a massive thing to me. Obviously healing is a big word and a lot of people are using it, but to me at least it's really about remembering who you truly are, beyond the noise, beyond the rules, the conditioning. And it's not just about fixing what's broken, but it's really about returning to like a sense of wholeness. And it's really about coming back home, I want to say, almost like coming back home to yourself, coming back home to your body, coming back home to your soul. And so I think it's really important to say that, healing is definitely not a quick fix.
How
Really,
you said not broken, because I think that's where people usually start to think, oh, I have an issue, and this is how traditional medicine works. I have a diagnosis and I have to fix something and I want straight results. I want to get from point A to point B. And that's not what healing is about. But actually, I did want to also ask you, is healer the right word? Like, how would you, when people ask you, what do you do for a living? What would you tell them?
it is difficult because honestly, I do so many things.
Hmm.
uh, no, definitely, healing is definitely part of my three pillars. I would say, guidance, healing work, and like purpose work are my definitely like three biggest pillars.
Hmm.
Um, but
And
yeah,
they're all connected, aren't they?
yeah, honestly, like so much. And yeah, I think you can't really, obviously you can do some healing work, you can do some guidance work, you can do some purpose work, but eventually I feel like all of them together are what's going to make the difference.
Mm. And you are the founder of House of Jiriki, as we mentioned. But what does that business do? How did the idea come about? And I really want to connect this a little bit with your own personal journey because I know that that's not, you didn't just wake up one day, or maybe you did wake up one day. I think there's a bit of a story there. But certainly
Yeah.
you did other things prior to dedicating your career to wellness and to helping others. And I'm sure that was a long journey getting there.
Yeah, no, for sure. So like the story of House of Jiriki really starts with my own breakdown, or actually like my own like breakthrough, maybe it's a better word. But yeah, so in my 20s I was working in the fashion industry and like running my first business. And on the outside, things look good. But inside, I was completely depleted. Like I hit full burnout. It was in 2020, and I had to make the painful decision to close my fashion company. And at the same time, I was kind of like deepening my spiritual exploration as well, which actually really began when I was 16. I had a near-death experience, so I was in a coma. And when I woke up, actually, on the day of my birthday, of all days, everything changed for me. So it's really that experience that really cracked something open in me. I don't know how to describe it, but it was very powerful. And, I kind of like saw and felt a world that was like beyond the physical. And
Yeah, I
so
was
a
going
bit
to
of
say, interesting time, 2020, when the whole world was falling apart, and you were, in some respects, falling apart as well. Or let's say
yeah, yeah,
shedding, because it's like the phoenix. Something old must go before you get to something new.
yeah, no, exactly. And like this, I really realized, well, I just couldn't keep living out of alignment. That so in 2021, I closed the company, and in 2021 I created House of Jiriki. And Jiriki, it's basically a Japanese term that means self-power. So the ability to heal yourself. So I don't know if you know that, but I started this business as a wellness subscription box to help people like reconnect with their rituals and restore balance in their everyday life. And in 2023, this is when I made the shift to focus entirely on the one-to-ones and the events. And the boxes I was creating, they were beautiful, but I think I just realized that I really wanted to go like deeper with people. I guide others through Reiki, Akashic healing, sound healing, Tarot and human design.
But you mix different modalities. You mix, as you said, Akashic records, Reiki, whereas many other people just choose one thing to specialize. So I think it'd be interesting to hear your journey in terms of, did you start with one thing? Did you start many things at a time? And what is the current mix that you're offering with your services?
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I'm a manifesting generator, like you in human
Hmm.
design, and so, well, I'm not really here to like stick to just one thing forever. My energy is definitely built for variety, for like movement, for shifting path as I evolve, right? So it's actually very natural for me to like pivot and to follow what feels most exciting and like the most aligned in the moment. But I've also learned to really tune into my body, and especially to my gut, if that makes sense. Like when I make decisions, I try not to force things anymore because, oh my God, I used to force things and to push for things, to make things happen like so much. And wow, this was like so draining. And if we're talking about like shifting and making decisions and stuff, right now I'm actually shifting again. So I'm at the moment I'm like expanding my work into creating more like private wellness events, producing and like designing these experiences from scratch. Um, and really using my creativity as much as I can. So
And
yeah.
these are live events, right? In person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Live events.
And I think it's interesting to see how your business has evolved, how it's continuing to evolve. But I think there are probably some skeptical people out there who might be saying, well, that's nice going out with your gut and just listening to yourself. But is there proof? Does that actually work? And has that actually helped you expand your business? And what has actually helped you the most when it comes to
Mhm.
growth? Because obviously all the intuitive work is fantastic, but the business does need some structure as well. And I think you've managed to combine both very successfully so that you can actually make a living of this. This is not just a hobby, this is your full-time job. So I guess to anyone who's listening and perhaps is thinking how they can apply this to their wellness business, what will be some of the tips or the techniques or even energy shifts that you've done that have helped you the most when it comes to growing your business and making it sustainable?
Yeah, so so many things honestly. But basically when I was in my 20s, and for years, I was literally ignoring like my body's signals like so much. And then I launched my first company and I had such a tiny budget when I launched it. So I was doing literally everything myself, designing, doing the logistics, opening up the pop-up stores, doing the admin, like everything just nonstop, nonstop. And by 2019, after like months of overwork, I started feeling this like super like sharp stabbing pain in my back, like a knife, lodged into my right side, right? And honestly, like sometimes the pain was like so bad and I was walking inside the pop-up stores. I literally had to like lie on the stock room floor just to cook, like, and I was hoping that no customers would walk in. Like that was really like so painful. And back then so I was like trying to fix it, I was like proactive. And so I saw like about five different physiotherapists in like three different countries and no one could figure it out. Like everyone was like, "Oh no, your back is completely fine. Are you sure you're feeling the pain?" I was like, "Yes." And so for like 2 years, I lived with that pain until I finally saw a cranial osteopath who, like, she didn't try to, fix my body, but I think she really like simply like listened to it, and that's when we uncovered what was actually like really happening. And, my pain was not like mechanical, it was actually like emotional. And we realized that my nervous system was completely overwhelmed. Like I had been carrying so much like alone for like too long, and deeper than that, and this is why I wanted to share it, deeper than that, my body was guiding me away from a path that no longer felt true, the fashion industry. And, so that moment really was like a wake up call for me. I started like turning inward. I would go to like Reiki sessions, like sound bath. I would start pulling my tarot cards again. And then like I remember one weekend I gave myself like full permission to rest, like just rest. And I think in that stillness, in that quiet moment, I think I just knew, I had to let go. I had to like close my first business. So, I made the hardest decision.
Well, how did you, I mean, because that sounds so scary. And so many people are like, I know I have to give it up, but I'm so scared. You must have been scared.
Oh my God. Honestly, like it was so hard because also it was my first business. So I really assimilated it with like having a baby almost, it was like
Oh,
my
yeah, it was
my
your
first.
baby. Yeah.
And yeah, and I was like, "Oh my God," like all these years of that, like of, working so hard for then what? And like closing it and what, it's all gonna be over. But really deep down, I felt like this was the like I had to do it. Like I had to. I don't even how to explain, but it was just like an evidence. And even though it was so hard, I finally let go. And a few months later, I birthed House of Jiriki, my second baby, my current business. And, as soon as I chose alignment over like the pressure, actually like my super bad pain like disappeared.
How quickly?
So I
In three
had,
months, something that you've carried for 2 years.
yeah, so it lasted for I had the pain for 2 years, and I decided to let go of my first company. And literally, not even within months, within weeks of taking the decision, my pain disappeared.
I think there's so many things that we can unpack from that story. I think for me, one of the things that was stuck in my mind was how you were lying on the floor and was hoping that customers wouldn't come in. And it does beg the question. I mean, you could use this as a metaphor, but so many times we're subconsciously sabotaging growing our business and sales because we know that we can't handle it for one reason or another. It sounds like you were having so much pressure being the jack of all trades for your business because at the time you didn't have support. Perhaps you didn't know how to ask for support or whatever it was. Maybe it wasn't the right industry at all. But um, I think it's just interesting. And I see that with clients a lot, how subconsciously you are self sabotaging and hoping that even though you kind of want to sell it, you also
Yeah,
don't because
exactly.
you think that that's going to be, and you know it's going to be too much or it's not going to be worth your time or you're not charging it properly or whatever it may be. But yeah, I'm sure there was some emotions at that point that probably led
Yeah.
you to that decision to close fully.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, it's just, I mean, for me, it's just fascinating how the body, like your body knows, you know? And I feel like if we were to listen to our bodies more, I think we would also go towards more like, better alignment in our decisions with our business. And for me, it's each time I have a little back pain, it's a gentle reminder from my body that it's time to slow down and to recalibrate.
And I also love how you said that it only took you 3 months, and 3 months later, you had your business idea, House of Jiriki was born, and obviously it's grown. But
Yeah.
I always like to challenge when clients tell me, oh, things need to take time, and maybe I should take this one step at a time. And oh, don't get too ahead of yourself, give yourself time. But it doesn't have to take time, does it? Because I think it has to take alignment, but not
Yeah.
necessarily time. What do you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, what is time? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
think like sometimes when things are so evident and when things are so aligned that it flows so well and so fast. And sometimes you get so surprised, like maybe my in my first business, after even 3 years, it was still not working and I was pushing and pushing and pushing. While with this one, it feels so aligned to me that everything flows and the success has been way faster.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned success, but how do you define success? What is success for you? Is that money? Is that being financially stable?
Well, maybe you're gonna think I live in a world of unicorns, but for me, success is doing what I love doing, and being able to live from it. So if
Mm.
I like for me, waking up every morning being excited to do what I'm doing, for me, this is successful.
Yeah, and obviously, if it wasn't successful financially, you wouldn't be able to keep up doing it. Like that company wouldn't exist because yes, unicorn world. But I know that I actually don't think you live with the unicorns. I know that you live in London, so you do have to pay the same bills just as everybody else. But what's your connection been with money throughout this journey? And has that changed from that time when you were Jane starting her fashion business and Jane today?
Yeah, oh my god, it changed so much, like, it's insane, and actually, I know you wanted to, like, speak about the Akashic Records, so,
Uh-huh. Yes,
this is
because we
connected
talked about
to it.
time, so I think that connects time and money and other things very nicely. Yes.
Ex exactly. So, I used to work really hard and not making money, like, so I'm talking especially in my first business, right? And I couldn't understand because I was like, "Wait, I work so hard. I work harder than my friends, like most of my friends, and I don't make money. This is not possible." And money is energy. So I was like, I must have a blockage somewhere. It's not possible. I couldn't understand it. And so what I did, I decided to connect to my Akashic records and I actually went into one of my past lives for those believing in past lives, right? I connected to one of my past lives, and I actually noticed that I had a belief that was still impacting my present life regarding to money, and my belief was that money is dirty. And so it was like, ooh, I know I don't want to touch money. I don't want to receive money. And the beauty of the Akashic record is that you can actually rewrite your past. So I did rewrote this past life. I changed to a happier ending and removed the guilt and all these feelings that were attached to making money. And I'm not even joking. As soon as I did this, like 3 or 4, maximum 5 days later, less than a week for sure, I was checking my bank accounts. And what do I see inside? I see that I just received almost £7,000. And this appeared like out of nowhere. And I was
From a
like,
client or?
no, 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 no. Actually, someone owed me some money, but from like ages ago that I even forgot about it.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't going to ask for it
Because you didn't want to
for
touch the money because they were dirty. Yeah.
exactly. And all of a sudden, I received it all in one go, like without expecting it, without even a message from that person. And from that moment, um, obviously I'm not saying like I'm a billionaire, but from that moment, money started to flow way more freely to me, and it didn't feel like a hassle.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it's whenever we talk about money and you said I'm not a billionaire, I'd say not yet. You could be if that was your goal. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's something else. But I do feel that there is a little bit of word of caution that you can't, you have to be careful. I mean, obviously rewrite any limiting beliefs, whether you use Akashic records, therapy or some other modality, that's entirely up to you. And as I always like to point it out to the people who are maybe a bit more analytical and maybe they don't believe in previous lives, it's if you don't believe you can change events that happened in the past, you can certainly change the way you feel about them and the way you think about those things. So that's certainly a good place to start, even if you're a little bit more analytically inclined and less spiritual. But if you are spiritual, then I would probably caution that you do have to think about your nervous system, and you talked about that because you could receive perhaps $1 billion tomorrow, but if your nervous system is not ready to handle it,
Thanks.
it may not
Yeah.
lead you to where you want it, to where you want to be.
Oh yeah, no, so true. So true. Yeah, you might freak out and then just literally spend it all in one day if you're not
Or,
ready
or
for it.
who knows, right? So I think we always have to work with what you said, the body, the nervous system, which is why I'm so fascinated. And I've started studying somatic practices myself because I find that that's just such a forgotten way to connect with our bodies. And it does impact our business, as you just mentioned, physical health, anything that you could possibly ever think of starts with the body, with the nervous system. And yes, we are all energy. Yes, we change our identities and our mindsets with the help of practitioners. But I think people often forget the body and the nervous system, and sometimes that's really where the key is.
Yeah, honestly, I'm fascinated about the wisdom of the body, and I was telling you about like the signals that my body was giving me under the form of like back pain, but I've also learned over the years to read other signals as well. And for example, when something emotional is stuck in me, like especially for example, like something I haven't processed or like expressed, it will literally show up on my skin. And actually, last year, we had the eclipse season towards the end of last year, like around October. Um, and actually, my partner and I, we went through such a really rough period. And so for 6 months, I had like stubborn breakouts, like right on my face, so annoying. And exactly where in Chinese medicine, the liver and the large intestine, like the meridians, are located. And so I realized that I was struggling to like digest and to release everything that had just, like that had been said like the previous year, that had been felt, and super recently. So I wouldn't even have been able to share this story if we had recorded this podcast 2 weeks ago because it happened so recently. But like 2 weeks ago, I had a sort of a massive, like deep emotional release. With a lot of like feeling a lot of like I had my moment of like forgiveness toward what happened last year with my partner. And literally, so imagine massive emotional release, everything. I was feeling a lot of forgiveness. This was a Friday morning. On the Friday evening, that same day, a few hours later, my partner proposed to me.
Oh, wow. How does that how does that happen? So this works in your personal life and in your professional life, which
Yeah,
ultimately they're the same thing. They're all
yeah,
you,
and it's so
parts of you.
crazy. And like, yeah, and like a week later, my skin completely cleared while I had breakouts for 6 months.
Wow. How beautiful the story is. But yes, it is. I think it's we've all had our own realizations and we could talk about this for ages, but certainly I would always say your body is sending you signals, don't ignore it. So whatever it is, it's there for a reason. It's not there to be punishing you and it's more
No,
just to tell you to
yeah,
stop and to pause.
exactly.
Um and to pay attention to an area that you've probably been ignoring or resisting. There's a lot of
Mm,
resistance usually to look
exactly.
and accept. But look, we're almost getting to the end of the recording. I did want to ask you what's ahead for you. You did mention that there's some kind of reorganization happening.
Yeah, so something that has been extremely fascinating for me lately, it's really the I've created an ebook actually that teaches people how to open their own Akashic records and like use them to manifest their desires. And it includes actually a guided meditation that I recorded. And that's the exact one that I still use today to manifest the things I want into my life. And honestly, it works so beautifully. So I was thinking that maybe I could actually, I don't know, like share the link with you if you want to add it to the episode's description. I'm sure some of your listeners
Absolutely.
would be up for it. Um, and then, of course, I'm definitely using so many tools, so many practices, that I definitely want to share with people more, and also blending all together beautifully into creating and producing definitely more wellness events. So that's what's on the pipeline basically for this next month.
Yeah, and I know that you're always going to listen to your body. So if something changes that doesn't feel right at some point, you're going to drop it. I think that probably sums up your mantra pretty well. But it's also so beautiful to see that you're not just. I know because I also know you. I know that you're not just saying those things. I can see how you light up when you talk about them and how you actually literally live and breathe. And you're not just saying things that sound nice or trendy, but you actually apply those exact principles in your own life, in your own work. So it's all lived experience, isn't it?
Yeah, no, of course. Honestly, like, for me, like every modality that I practice, whether in my one-to-one session or my events, it's really something that I first explored deeply for myself.
What inspires you and what motivates you to carry on?
Wow, big question. I think it's just that for me, I just find it so deeply empowering, like what I do. Um, Honestly, this is the reason that I continue to do this work. It's so deeply empowering. And, to see someone move from confusion to clarity, or like move from disconnect to alignment, and to see this, to like witness this, it's so magical. The name of my business, House of Jiriki, like, as I said, Jiriki meaning self-power in Japanese. It's really like believing, that, when people reconnect to that inner power, everything becomes possible. And I think that's what inspired me.
Mm, beautiful. Well, this is a wonderful thought to end the conversation on. Thank you so much, Jane, for dialing in. And I would only suggest to our listeners that they stay tuned because we're doing something really fun. And I'm going to be your guest on your podcast in exactly a week's time. So perhaps just a quick word about your podcast and where people can find that.
Yeah, of course. So it's on Spotify and it's called Heart.listic. And yeah, I'm going to interview Christina. So I'm very, very excited. And yeah, I can't wait. And thanks so much for having me today, Christina. Honestly, it was so much fun. And I really loved your questions. And I hope it inspire your listeners.
Yes, and I want to say to our listeners, we had so much fun that your phone nearly exploded and overheated because of the energy that was being exchanged on both sides of the line. So, in any case, there's powerful co-creation here. So stay tuned, and by all means, make sure to check out Jane's podcast as well. Thank you, everyone. Love you so much, and bye bye. One of the things I love to talk about is connection and building your own network, not based on job titles or demographics, but based on energy. Younger listeners will call it vibes, the spiritual one's frequency, but however you decide to name it, I'm convinced that there's real power in choosing your people based on how you feel around them. And there's no doubt in my mind that anyone who's ever experienced one of Jane's magical sessions will walk away feeling recharged. I was intrigued by her from the moment I first worked with her, and I'm truly grateful that we got to share her story, one that I know will inspire anyone who's building a business with purpose, looking to lead with grace, or perhaps seeking more peace in their life. That's not where the story ends, because next I got to sit on the other side of the mic as a guest on Jane's Heart.listic podcast. I shared my own journey, what's next for the Sound of Breaking Glass, as well as the exciting new community that I'm building and opening this autumn. So if you want to find out more, make sure you stay tuned by following me at lifewelllive.by.hv to stay in the loop, and make sure you don't miss the brand new episode coming out very soon. Until next time.